Becc, and it is so lovely to be with you. Welcome back to this channel. It has been a while. Today, I'm so excited to just have a chat with you guys about feminine leadership, feminine sovereignty, and a really interesting, in my opinion, topic, spiritual dating. When Spirit first asked me to speak about spiritual dating, I was like, are you sure? I don't know. But then I had a client who wanted to discuss this, and I felt it was like a bit of a confirmation from Spirit that this was something that we need to talk about. And part of the reason that I was wanting to talk about it as well is because as a spiritual woman, you probably have an intention for the kind of relationship that you desire. And also, if you are single, if you are not single, if you are in a relationship, by the way, you can probably apply a lot of what we're going to talk about today within your relationship. So keep listening. So if you are a spiritual woman, you probably have an intention of what you would like from your ideal relationship, what you would like from your beautiful masculine man or partner. And we all have this vision, and actually spiritual dating can be done in the context of intention. What we want is to be very intentional about and around anything to do with our sexual energy. This is one of the number one things that I've learned in the dating field. I've also learned the incredible experience of setting intentions, setting like what you desire from a partner and having that manifest and meeting that person and having their energy even around you before you've even met them. That's what happened in my last relationship, and it was very amazing and beautiful. So I've got some notes I'm looking down at, but the first thing I actually want to talk about with you, because a lot of spiritual dating, it really comes down to where you are at right now with things like your personal boundaries and your self-worth. These are the number one things that are going to dictate the kind of people that you attract into your experience, the kind of experiences really that you have in relationship. Because as we all know, there's a lot of our traumas and stuff are like really interwoven with our relationships. And it also means that relationship is an incredible portal of healing. And I know for me that this was just an incredibly rich evolution that I was able to go through by having a specifically intended partnership. And anything that arose in the relationship, any challenges, expanded me because of that core intention that I had within me, that whether this relationship is meant to last, or this relationship is the one, or this relationship is temporary, I choose to use this relationship as evolution. And that really served me and is why I'm here today in such a big part of it is why I'm here today in such a different space in terms of my personal empowerment, my feminine energy, my sexuality. A lot of that really got to bloom through and within a relationship. You can, of course, again, I will reiterate, you can work on these things when you are not in relationship, and it's important to do so because the other relationship that you have is the relationship with yourself. And just while I think of it, by the way, guys, if you could please like, comment, and subscribe on all these channels that I'm sharing this, because that really helps me as a creator. And I'm going to be one of those authentic creators with you who is not going to just like try to slyly get you to like it or whatever. If it serves you, please do, because I want you to understand why creators ask that of you. It helps us and it helps this message. And if you value this message, and it helps this beautiful message of feminine essence come through. So I really, really appreciate that. And yeah, I will mention it at the end again as a reminder. So back to today's topics. First, we're going to talk about feminine leadership. Now, for me, leadership was initially, like a while ago, was initially like kind of a vague subject. I was like, but what does it mean to lead? And I said to Spirit, what does it mean to lead? And Spirit said to me, it means to speak of truth. It means to speak the truth or to live from truth. And that was so important for me. That was a really clarifying thing, because that's what's at the core of leadership. If you are in truth, you are in ownership, you are in alignment, you are aware of the truths of who and what you are, which is that you are a spiritual being and a powerful spiritual sovereign woman who is worthy of everything that you desire. You are. That is truth. So if that was your truth, how would you show up in your life? So how would you lead in your life? And if we extrapolate lead, we're talking about the decisions that you make, the choices that you make, and the boundaries and standards that you have for yourself, for relationship, for each area of your life, like business, body, health, spiritual practice, all those things. All the decision making process is where you're really kind of leading. And part of that is actually a masculine kind of aspect of the physical act of making a decision or setting a boundary or like saying yes or saying no. That is your inner king being like, hey, I'm here and this is the structure that I create for the feminine within me to flow within me. And so the more feminine side of leadership, I should say, is about the where we're leading from. So the heart beneath those actions. And again, that is the recognition of your self-worth. That is the choice to operate from desire and not fear. And these are all things that I talk about in my beautiful Daughters of Eden Holy Feminine Temple. We have a membership community and single, like individual mentorships as well for women to really come into your power and to learn all about this. So you really want to be in an awareness of who am I, what am I, how am I valuing myself? One of the biggest things and shifts for me was the capacity to say no. And I know I've probably already talked about boundaries on this channel, and we probably will continue to do that because boundaries is such a like rich, epic topic. Like it's not this simple thing of like boundaries. There's so much in that because your boundaries are where you get to express your sovereign truth and your divinity. You get to honor yourself through your boundaries or dishonor yourself and cross your boundaries. You get to say to yourself, I am worthy of this kind of treatment, this quality of experience, this unique thing of going after my goals, of making sure that I have boundaries that build that into my life every day. You get to be in a place of self-love. You get to be in a place of, I see that I am a worthy being and I'm worthy of so much love. And so that's why I'm going to have this boundary in place with this person or this boundary in place with myself as a, my routine. I'm very strict and disciplined with my routine boundaries because that's what serves me. And leadership really comes in when you are moving from that desire for yourself to be happy, that desire for yourself to live in a holy love for yourself. That's really the feminine leadership, is that she leads from the heart. She has to lead from her heart first before anything else. And in her heart contains her feminine aspects as well, like her truth, her intuition. So the feminine has to operate within alignment of energy, within alignment of actual truth and being in reality and being in your sovereignty, which is another topic we'll get into in a moment. But if I do not guide myself through my life, if I guide myself away from my truth, I am not going to feel loved by me. That feeling of actually feeling self-love, because a lot of people talk about self-love, but it can feel like this kind of intangible experience. Like, what does that emotion feel like to be self-loving? What does that actually feel like? And I know for me and for a lot of my clients and students, one of the biggest ways that we could actually touch and embody self-love was by recognizing that, oh, I feel loved by me, like I feel loved by her, by that me, when I make healthy decisions for myself, when I make loving decisions for myself, or when you do something nice for yourself. If you choose to buy yourself this beautiful gift, if you give yourself a present, if you take yourself out to a beautiful experience, this is an act of self-love to you. And it's going to enhance the feminine essence within you and allow you to really, really bloom. That's how we bloom as women. It comes through the portal of the heart, and it comes through the portal of the self-love within us. So It is a central part of feminine leadership, and self-love almost go hand in hand, because if I'm self-loving, then I'm going to make healthy decisions and in alignment decisions and choices and boundaries and all of that. And if I'm doing all of that, I'm going to create more love for myself. So they really feed into each other, and it's really beautiful. And as I say, the biggest thing with feminine leadership is that those core vibrations are coming from desire and are coming from pleasure. So when we actually start to live from desire and not fear, we're not making decisions out of fear or out of our resistance or out of struggle. We're actually going into a trust, and we're going into a I believe in myself, and we're coming from a kind of beautiful wholeness place within ourselves, not survival. When we operate from that as women, then we actually begin to overflow our energy, and our overflow turns into a sensation of an experience of pleasure. And this is our sexual energy coming alive and feeling turned on by even our own life and by ourselves. And then that actually causes a beautiful feedback loop of now I'm in overflow energetically and I'm vibing with myself, and that nurtures me more and causes me to take more nurturing actions. So the core message I want you to take away about feminine leadership is that you must operate from your desire. You must operate from your pleasure and do that which cultivates your pleasure and nurture yourself. If you do anything other than that, we aren't able to be in alignment with the holy stream of light that we are. It doesn't flow correctly and properly as women. So obviously there's a lot more to these topics, but I didn't want this video to be like hours and hours long. And this is something that we go over again in these feminine mentorships that I offer and the courses that I'm starting to build. And I actually do have a offering for all of you today, which I'm going to link below as well, which is a beautiful PDF document that's quite in depth about self-love, about leadership, and about how to live from your feminine embodiment. And it's got an epic also Kali goddess activation in there as well, which is her coming in and saying, hey, here's this energy, this frequency that's going to give you your power, invite you into your power. And she's in there and she's charging with your sacred permission. That is contained within this document. So it's much more than a document. So if you want to have a look at that, please feel free. I just wanted to create something to go with this conversation for you today. And yeah, so feminine leadership, self-love, also sovereignty. So I did mention the word sovereignty in there. And I want to again say that for me and for a lot of women, I think the idea of sovereignty is a little bit like vague as well. Why? Because we haven't been taught about it. We haven't been taught about our sovereignty, and that's crazy. That's crazy because guess what? You are sovereign. You are a spiritual, beautiful, holy, divine being. And that is in part what sovereignty means. Sovereignty means that I recognize myself as sovereign. So it means that I recognize myself as holy, as divine, as pure light, as the goddess. It also means that I am in a space of owning myself and owning my power. Because if I'm a sovereign being, that also means I'm free. I am the sovereign over my own life and my own energy, my own choices. I am the sovereign ruler of that experience because I am a sovereign being. Because I am a sovereign being, I am free, I am powerful, and everything in my experience is created by me as the sovereign creator of this life's incarnation. It truly is. We are the sovereign creator. And when you take that power back and you take that recognition back of yourself, that is to truly lead as well. That is to truly lead yourself and guide yourself into higher states, into the life that you came here to be and the woman that you came here to be. Humanity as a collective, basically, the opposite of sovereignty is to be in powerlessness or victimhood, to say I'm a total victim of my circumstances and to not take back that power that says, okay, I co-created this. And again, it's never to shame yourself or shame humanity for the struggle, the conditioning that we have had, but we have to remember. We have to remember that at core, we are sovereign. And the only reason that other kind of darker experience happen on this planet is because we have forgotten and we don't remind ourselves. So I really want you to remind yourself every day that you are a sovereign, powerful creator being. The higher self, you are her. You created this experience. You must remember who you are. So feminine sovereignty is about also looking at our conditioning, and especially as women, just in terms of like the 3D plane and Earth's experience, for the experience that women have had, we have had a lot to do with suppression and limitation. And coming back into our sovereignty is really about liberation, liberating ourselves from those experiences, from those resistances and beliefs and shame and eons of shame that we have taken on from a patriarchal society that at many points and built up over time said that what you are is wrong or unlovable or shameful. And this is particularly around our sexual energy, but also obviously we all know as women we experience this in many areas of our life and our being. But sexual sovereignty for women is really important because within that is a lot of our power. You know, your sexual energy is your kundalini energy, it's your life force energy, and it comes alive. And women have such a beautiful, beautiful sexuality. Men do as well, but I'm very in love with the women's sexuality because, you know, I'm not going to get into it. I'd have to do like a whole class with you right this second to explain all the mechanics. But when I think about it, it's so beautiful because at core, our sexuality is the radiance of the holy feminine coming through you. And when you can clear your debris, the trauma, conditioning and stuff, that's enough. These divine feminine Venus pathways open up and we actually start to operate from a very spiritual, sexually alive place. And that is a really key part of creating as a woman, of birthing and manifesting, attracting. We are like the flower. I always say that women are a beautiful flower and we have a unique energetic perfume that we each emanate. And then through our emanation of who and what we are in our truth, that is how we attract what we desire. It is not through kind of so much through building and action and stuff as it is for men. Obviously, there's a component of that because we have masculine within us as well, and we live in a physical, more masculine expression of Earth right now. But what we want to do is kind of access that, but then root back into, rest back into, and at core, always be centered in our feminine first. So yeah, the sexuality needs to become sovereign again. And I have to look at that as a woman. And I really invite you to look at that. And again, like, okay, so when we talk about spiritual dating, obviously sexual energy and the conversation about sexual energy really comes up. And what I've noticed is that we want to be very intentional about our sexual energy, obviously about our whole life, right? If you are intentional about your whole life, you will get everything you ever wanted. But especially for the sexual energy, simply because of the way that things are at the moment, where it's been very like distorted and there's like quite unhealthy men at times, there's unhealthy women at times with our sexual energy, there's beings that want to feed on that sexual energy, like the whole sex thing for humanity has become quite distorted and unhealthy. And because of the level of distortion that's there, I think it is so of the utmost importance that when we reclaim our sexuality, we do it properly and we do it with a holy intention. And that means, so practically, that can look like I don't go sleep around with people. Even if I'm really wanting to have sex, I can create a self-pleasure practice for myself through that. I don't need to go and share my energy with lots of different people and kind of diffuse my energy, expose my sexual energy and myself, my whole energy, to somebody, or men, multiple men, or just somebody who is not at the proper attunement to you and your energy and what would actually serve you. You don't want to be having sex with people that are not not healthy enough in themselves, and it's not going to serve you. The sexual connections, just like anything, they need to serve your experience and the cultivation of your life force, not deplete it. That was actually my spirit guide just now, who's really narrowing it down for us, is that the sexual experience must cultivate and nurture your holy sexuality, your holy sexual essence, not deplete it. And we can often deplete it when we are, for example, wanting to have sex just for the physical sensation and it's a bit empty. When we are trying to feel or get a sense of self-worth, or like we're lovable by having sex with someone that, we think, oh, then they'll love me. These kinds of things where we're using our sexual energy in an unhealthy way, this is what depletes and diffuses sexual energy, and just obviously in so many ways emotionally is not good for you. And sexual energy, and I go off especially what I remember from the temples, my memories of Lemuria and Atlantis and things like that, and even Isis temples, where we were so sexual as the priestesses, but there was so much ritual around sex, and it was very, any kind of interaction from other than yourself and God that was sexual was very intentional. That person had to be of a certain caliber, and there had to be intention and ritual behind the sexual act. And that is a lot of what your typical tantra is trying to bring back, is that we actually understand the energetics of sexuality properly and we start to use it properly. That being said, it is my observation that there is even some distortions in the tantra community and teachings and stuff, where, for example, I've seen people being like, well, sex work is just, great, and it's all healing and it's all great, and just sexual liberation means to spread your sexual energy everywhere and have sex with anybody and just be like in sexual innocence, which is a term that I've heard, to excuse kind of just being sexual with everybody. And it's not that we should be ashamed or unliberated about our sexual energy, but we need to really honor it and honor the actual power of sexual energy as well, which is that it is an amplifier, it is a magnet as well. So that's another reason we have to be very intentional. It's a different, all energy, I want to say it's a different energy, but all energy is the same in terms of the fact that it is energy, it is source energy, it is life force energy. And I have lots of life force energy going in me that isn't necessarily my sexual, just that sexual concentration. But I think what I'm trying to say is that when we have sex or we have sexual interaction, that doesn't have to mean actual sex. I mean, when you start to have a sexual dynamic with someone, if they're simply put, like if you're flirting or something like that, and you start to open sexually, this is a concentrated quality of energy. It's concentration of creative life force, and it needs to be so honored and cultivated. So I would just put that to you when you think about spiritually dating, or when you think about your relationship as well, if you are in a relationship now, of what is the process that you have around your sexual energy? How refined and intentional are you before sex, after sex, just in your thinking about it, in your flirtation, all those things. Because you deserve to have a very healthy experience. And the more that we are very intentional and we are very healthy with our energy, all energy, sexual included, the better the focused energy is what is the most magnetic, non-diffused, completely gathered in presence. That is our true power. When we diffuse our energy in any way in our mind by doing multiple tasks, and when we, we're not present, basically, when we're thinking about a million things, when we're out of our body in a sexual experience, we're not in the present moment, our energy is diffused. It is flying around over here. It's, being put to those thoughts over there, to cultivating and nurturing those thoughts over there instead of the present moment. So what you're focusing on or trying to create only has half the energy and magnetism and force that it otherwise would. So this is very, very important. So within, there's probably, again, there's a lot more to talk about all of these topics. I could go on and on. But especially with sex and women's pleasure and things like that. If you want to learn more about that, please do come to the Daughters of Eden Holy Temple. We have a beautiful sisterhood community. We also have these one-on-one trainings and feminine pleasure mentorships, which I'm really excited about. It takes you through the 3 holy feminine phases of ascension that all women go through to reclaim your pleasure, not just your pleasure, but everything, your self-love, leadership, all of these topics. And I'm obsessed with it, and I hope you are too. So, okay, back to spiritual dating. As I say, there could be more to say on the sexual side of it, but we've talked about intention, we talked about sexual energy. Let's talk about how we can activate our intention and sort of more practical things. So this comes down to your standards and boundaries. Your boundaries or standards are so important because you are value. And if you value yourself, you need to honor that. And you need to say, if I was a beautiful, sovereign, divine, holy being, which you are, what kind of man would I let into my field? What kind of treatment would I expect? Would I be worthy of? And remember, if you're a queen, she is treated like royalty. She is cherished. She is loved. She is respected. She is heard. She is seen. I think that thinking about yourself as a queen, as royalty, is very helpful to then extrapolate, okay, like what are the standards of a queen then? Let alone the fact that it also signifies, your lineage as a holy queen, as a feminine essence that you are, as the goddess that you are. And the queen stuff is really about our crown and our spirituality and placing the crown of sovereignty of my recognition that I'm a holy being upon myself and operating from that. So in dating, we really want to be clear on who and what we desire. So what kind of relationship are you looking for? What's your intention with dating? And what kind of man do you want to be exposed to? What kind of man, how do they act? How do they treat you? How do they make you feel? How do they love? You get right down to the details, like what is your love language? What's the language you would like to speak? I'm just going to take this off. It's a bit warm. It's been quite cold here, and I think I've got a lot of energy going, so I'm getting a bit warm. Yes. So, yeah. If you focus on your intentions, and here I'm going to share a little bit about what I've learned through the dating experience. So, when I first got back into dating, which was after a big healing journey for myself of like 5-6 years of just therapy and healing myself and running my business, and just I hadn't mended my sexual trauma stuff. I hadn't gone through all my feminine initiations, and there just also wasn't really room for somebody because of the level of commitment I had to have to my healing journey. But when I was ready, I was like, okay, I'm ready now. And I set an intention to find my husband. And that's what I wanted, because I personally was like, I don't want to, I don't really vibe with dating around and dating multiple people. I don't want to waste my time. I really want a beautiful connection with somebody to grow together. And, I've wanted to get married since I was little, and I wanted to get married in Hawaii, and I still intend this. I intend to do this, and you will see this, and it will happen. And yeah, so I set an intention of my husband, and I also worked with spirit. I kind of did a ritual, and I said, may this person be exactly what is needed for me for the highest will of all, so that I open it up to not putting a limit on, not telling the universe who I think I should have, knowing that there are higher wisdoms than me that might have better ideas. So I always, with my manifestations, keep an openness to that, where I say, only if it's with the highest will of all, please bring me the highest will of all. And then I will say maybe my specifics. So yeah, I intended that. And then I started to get visions and intuitions about who this person would be. I started to feel their energy around me when I was affirming and doing my little bits of manifestation and visioning with this. I started to get a unique frequency that I could feel in my room. And I, of course, me being very psychic, that also came with visions of this person. And I'm not going to go into heaps of detail just to respect the privacy of that experience, but it was very beautiful. And my point is that I could feel this energy was coming to me even before it had happened. And I also, I got, because of my psychicness, I got very specific visions, and I knew his name, and I knew like probably too much. And I was like, on the first date, I was like, do not say the things that you know about this person because you will scare them away. Um, anyway, so my intentions really worked quite quickly. I went on like 2 dates that weren't right, and then I met my partner, and I was like, oh, that was quick. Hooray. And then throughout the relationship, and especially in the early stages, I maintained an intention that I would reaffirm at different times, of my core manifestation goal, which was my husband. So I would keep affirming and visioning, like, may this relationship grow to the highest will of all, and may I meet with my husband, and if this is my person, then may that be so, and if it isn't, may I grow enough, and I will follow the path of what spirit desires for me to get to this goal. So I kept it open in that, and I kept affirming that within myself. And so I really think that that supported me to maintain that my core intention was actually growth of myself as a person to become the person I need to be to find my husband. Because all your manifestations, they really are about becoming a certain set of frequency, expression, advancement of your higher self to be open to receive what you desire. And yeah, so I had this intention, and throughout the relationship, I really saw a lot of my own relationship issues and challenges and shadows. And I believe now that that was the main purpose of that relationship, which has since ended. And every time that something arose in the relationship, I would take it to my coach, or like the feelings and the work that needed to be done. I would take it to my coach. I had a feminine mentor coach at one point, or I would take it to my therapist, or I would take it to myself and my higher self. And I would say, teach me and let me change this and let me become more through this. And that is what it means to be in a conscious connection, in my opinion, that the focus is on growth, and that you are constantly, the focus is being conscious, which is to be in awareness, and to build awareness and self-awareness. So that's what I got out of that relationship. And for those parts of it, I'm very grateful, because now it was just more pushes into my feminine initiations. And now I'm in a lot more of my power and my worth and my standards and all of these things. And I learned a lot about masculine, feminine energy. I had so much stuff coming up through like just energy exchanges sexually in my womb, and like all these things. So relationship is great for evolution. That's what it does. And yeah, but so I guess my point here is to speak to you about the process of intention and the power of intention that you can have if you choose it. And then now I want to speak to you about where I'm at now, and from that place, which is that I am looking at dating again. I'm kind of like doing it, but I'm very focused on my business at the moment. So I'm kind of got one foot in, but I kind of said to the universe, if it wants to happen, it can happen. And to put myself, make myself visible. Because one of the things with manifestation is that you do have to take some action, even in your feminine. And I'm like, okay, like when I put myself on a dating app or whatever I do, it's not really about like, I will now find the man. It's about, this is me saying to the universe, hey, I'm ready, and having an openness. That's so every action that I take is about what I get presently. It's not attached to the final goal so much. There's something that wants to come out of it through the current action, which is just to express openness. In this case, is to express an openness to that person coming into my life. So, yeah, so let's talk about also, so your standards, okay? So a lot of people have, like at the moment, there's a lot of conversation about like feminine, masculine dynamics and stuff like this, especially in the spiritual conscious community. And I was really like, I really wish there was like a spiritual dating talk or conversation or something that I could talk about. There is a lot about relationships, but also just about dating as well, because it's like, you have to choose your standards for yourself, and you may experience judgment from other people who do not understand why you have that kind of standard. You may experience judgment or misalignment from people who don't understand, your understanding of feminine and masculine energies. So one thing that is really important for me is that any man that I am exposed to or am sexually interacting with or romantically, they need to be in their holy masculine, again, not perfect, but enough, just on that growth path. And they need to be in a place of stability within themselves. And that does mean financially, that does mean emotionally, all of those things. And one of the things I think that is a little bit judged in the community, especially perhaps the spiritual community, is like, oh, why do you need a man who's like makes a certain amount of money, blah, blah, blah. What if he was, I've seen so many things like, what if he was perfect in every way, but you rejected him because of his financial status? And I'm like, no, okay, so this is the conversation, part of the conversation I want to have with you ladies today is like, as a woman, if you are looking at long term and you have to look at the duration of the relationship, which is, a year or two or however long to let it develop to even for it to become even serious, for it to become potential marriage if that's what you want, or just serious. If you want children, and depending on your age, you have to think about all those factors. We can't just be like, oh, I'll just love everybody, like I'll just fall in love with whoever and it'll be fine. It's good to have standards and know that you will have someone who is, you're in love with them as well. It's not superficial. It's, I have this and I have love. And so as a woman, so for me, I'm 32 now. I'm like, well, okay, let's say that I did, want the option of having a child. It would have to be soonish. And you have to think about that duration of the relationship. And you have to think about, as women, if you were to have a child, you would need to take time off work and you would need your partner to support you and a child. So how much money do they have to be able to do that? A decent amount of money. And so that is why the wealth thing is important. And that's just one sort of example of something people can look at and go like, oh, well, that's really superficial. And it's like, no, like it's just logical, because you want to have that for yourself if that's a desire for you, and you need to think about it. And we also want a man who is in his stability, and our finances really have a lot of reflection between our relationship with ourselves and life, because money is energy. Money is kind of a representation of life force energy. And there are caveats to this, and I'm also going to do a class on wealth as well, and that is again something that we cover in these feminine mentorships as well quite extensively, because money is great, money is beautiful, it is important, and it is essential as a foundation of energy for the life that we're here to build. And yeah, so we want to have men or a partner who can think about these things, and it's okay to strategize. It's okay to think about that and intend love. And so that's one thing I wanted to say. Another thing that people have a little bit of judgment about, but I wanted to really be in leadership about, is about attraction and good looks and things like that. It's okay if you want to have a partner who is good looking and you love them and it's a really deep, beautiful relationship. That doesn't make you superficial. And attraction and polarity is so essential. And the thing about something like money and the thing about good looks and stuff like that is that these are a reflection of the relationship that person has with themselves. It's a reflection of their empowerment. People look better and look after themselves when they care about themselves. And, if you're a woman and you want to wear beautiful clothes because you love yourself and you care about the feeling of your clothes on your skin, or you want to adorn yourself because you're like, wow, she's beautiful, I'm going to, put a flower in my hair. And everybody's got their unique expression of what that self-love through our clothing expression looks like. But if somebody is not doing that, often it is a sign that they are, they don't have that dynamic going on with themselves. And I believe that that's part of the reason why people are attracted to good looking people. Also, it represents a certain state of health as well, which is important for like very basic evolution and mating and stuff like that. And so also wanting somebody that is healthy in their body as well, because again, thinking very logically, if you are dating and down the road and you're 50 and stuff, how long do you want to live? How long do you want your partner to live? These are all really important things. And so when you first set out to date, you actually have to really think about these things. And even if you ladies, like even if you're in your 20s or something like that, I believe from lived experience that it is important for you to think about these things now, to think about what you want. You can be open to change and exploring and curiosity as well, and letting yourself have time and grow. But you are going to reach that point, in your mid to late 30s, if you are even possibly might want to be a mother, where you really want to be clear on what you do like, what you don't like, who you need, what you need in your life. The best feminine leadership, the best leadership, and the best thing about leadership is that it's really about intention. It's about taking the time to intend through the different areas of your life, like dating, like relationship, like health, and all of that. And that's actual ritualistic creation. And that is so powerful. And I love this topic. Yeah. So I really encourage you to do that. And I also wanted to chat to ladies about, and men, if you're watching this, you are probably learning a lot as well. And again, a lot of this probably applies to you in slightly different nuanced ways. So another thing to be thinking about is when you start dating and you have these standards in yourself, you're going to be faced with, the opportunity to say no and to hold to your standard. And one of the examples is, is this person, and for the sake of just simplicity, I'm going to talk about masculine relationship. Is this man in his empowered state? Again, don't have to be perfect, but is he on the path? Is he, at the level that you need him to be? Is he, what is the energy that you feel when you're around this person? Because one thing I've noticed is that men who are on the path of or in their masculine energy and can kind of be in charge of themselves and empowered, they're in charge of their energy. Their energy is not leaky. What I've noticed about men who are more in their distorted feminine and haven't risen into their masculine is that they can be really flirty, even unintentionally. Their energy can make you feel kind of unsettled. And it really is a feeling thing that I've spoken with quite a few women now about this, and we actually all kind of agree, even if we can't fully like word it. But like when a man is in that more empowered, balanced, healthy space and is therefore a safe man, he is going to be intentional with his energy with you. You are going to feel, if he's flirting with you, you're going to know about it and you're going to feel it, and it's going to be like directional, and then he'll pull it back. The more passive man that I'm talking about, or person with a leaky energy, is where they're kind of just like going with the flow in life. They may not be on mission. They may not have like, a passion that they love. They might be usually not doing very well financially. And when you interact with them, they have either like a very obvious flirt energy or more subtle flirt or accidental flirting, I call it, where when you're with them, it just feels like there's just like a bit of a mess going on. And sometimes you're like, and you get confused, you'll feel confusion by them and their behavior with you. They might be a little bit touchy, but then pull it back. They might like laugh with you a lot, but like, and you're going to be left like is this person flirting with me, or are they just, is this is how they are? I can't tell. That state of confusion is happening because their energy is dancing in a confused way. And a man in his masculine embodiment is not going to make you feel confused. Of course, there's caveats to this. If you have your own stuff around not trusting, your read of something, you might get confused if you don't trust that you can read energy, for example. But typically and simply put, you're going to feel them kind of coming at you. That's that penetrative masculine force. And then when they're not flirting with you, or if they just want to be friends and they're not flirting with you, it's going to just be more like this. And because their masculine energy is being contained, it's a containment. And that is one of the core frequencies of holy masculine energy, is containment, safety, stability, groundedness. And when the feminine is exposed to the messy energy, it feels unsafe to her, and you might find yourself feeling unsafe. And this is where we have to be very mindful and in self-awareness about your shadows and your woundings that might be causing you to be attracted to someone who is doing this energy. Because a lot of women have been repeating their relationship with their father, where they couldn't get their needs met, and maybe it was a full trauma, or maybe it was just neglect, or maybe it was just he was messy, and sort of like a floating around in life and didn't support the family. Whatever he was doing, that we get attracted to something where we feel like, oh, if I do that, I might make myself whole and I might repair the relationship unconsciously. That's what our little girl is thinking. But you don't want to repeat that, because the healing is actually in recognizing your worth, that you're worthy of not even going there. So I think I'll leave it there, because there is such a big conversation about this. And please comment below if you relate to any of this, if you have any more specific questions you'd like me to answer about any of these topics: dating, feminine leadership, even the wealth for the feminine, sovereignty and self-love and boundaries, all of this. And if you're really interested, do check out the Daughters of Eden Holy Temple for Divine Feminine Light. It is a spiritual community, an online community membership, which is amazing. We meet once a month for monthly circles. Every 3 months we have a proper full ritual to embody the feminine, and so much more involved in that. And also the private mentorships that really take you through the initiations that I went through and that Spirit sends to me and teaches you, and we all actually go through, to find your power, find your wealth, find your liberation, find your pleasure, and live from that. And that is what I'm all about at the moment. And I really appreciate you being here. And finally, do check out that link below where you can get this beautiful document and activation of Kali Goddess, because she was really fierce. You'll see in the thing, you'll be like, whoa. Yeah, I love Kali because she's all about the leadership. So thank you so much for being here. Please do like, comment, subscribe. That supports this channel. And I will see you in the comments.